So, Jaddai, I've known you for a while now. We've worked together, done a bit of life together,
Yeah.
and I know you as a great man of God, full of integrity and inspiration to me in many ways.
Thank you.
And now I'd love to hear how you came to be the man you are today and how you came to know Jesus.
Um, Definitely not overnight. So it's very gradual. Um, you know, having the pressures of, growing up in a Christian household and, going to church because of my parents. Um, and it all started changing around um, late primary, like going into high school, obviously because I was in a different country, you know, and all that comes with learning a new language, English, because that's not my first language. Um, Trying to fit in with the cool people and the cool kids, doing all sports and stuff, and I guess I kind of started questioning why I was going to church, and I didn't really have a say, but that all changed when someone placed value on me, and it was one of the youth leaders actually. We're still in touch today, and he just gave me a responsibility, and that was to help him with the sound desk, and it was just to press the mute button on and off. But that was like, whoa, you trust me with that? And I did play around with it. Like sometimes I would just take it off and on whilst someone was talking, because that's just who I was. Um, but then that gave me ownership as well of playing a part into a bigger picture. And then that turned into um, setting up the whole sound desk, and then gradually into having the keys and going early and setting up the whole room and the mics on stage and things like that. So God reached out to me through that, and it took someone else just inviting me into a bigger picture, which I'd never really had. So yeah, and it made me want to do that for someone else, and that's when I kind of started, looking at Jesus, like, and that's when the questions started becoming too loud to ignore, because there's a time where you just go through, it's all right, I'll just do it because I can, like, get into all sorts of things, but then it's like, but that's not who I want to be. So how do I then become that person? And yeah, it was very gradual. It was not overnight. So yeah.
So if you wouldn't say there was like one big moment where you just like, where you look back and like, yeah, that was the moment I decided to follow Jesus. It was more sort of a gradual
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. I wish I could say that. I'd like to say that. You hear stories like, overnight, and that, no, didn't happen with me. It was like 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, and then 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And there's always setbacks, but they just gave me an opportunity to look at where I went wrong, knowing that going down this path will lead to this result, because I went down this path many times. Okay, so what does that path have to offer? And it had more and more goodness and more people, which was great. And yeah, still growing with it.
And what sort of path did you feel as though you went down, especially as a young person, which you discovered weren't good for yourself?
So a lot of peer pressure led to, being around the wrong circles, you know, um, too much partying. And there's nothing wrong with, but I still party, you know. I'm Congolese, we like to have a good time. But there's a certain way to carry yourself that doesn't compromise um your integrity, and that doesn't hurt the people around you. And as long as you're not doing those things, and and carrying your body as a temple, honoring God with that as well, um and trying to fit in, you can get into the very wrong circles. And I found myself in places, and I'll have moments like, what am I doing here? Like, everything about me wants to get up and leave right now. And one time I did, and then did it one time, did it another time, and I was like, you know what, I'll just not go altogether. And it became easier the more I did it. And a lot of my friends back then who sometimes made fun of me, sometimes laughed at me, few years down the line or months or whatever, they then came and asked for help and like, oh mate, I know you like a Christian and I've got this issue. Could you pray for me? Or how do you do those things? And I couldn't even see the change within me that God was doing through that relationship with Jesus and getting to know him more. But the people around me could, and I guess although I didn't feel perfect, they wanted some of what I had, and that was Jesus. And yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing which young people, especially young people who grew up in church, struggle with, is like to express their faith at school and in their friendship groups which don't know Jesus.
yeah,
And people often think, and I was the same, like, I'm only going to be accepted here if I disown my faith, and that I have to fit in with how everyone else, what everyone else believes and thinks. Because you see people who like maybe step out of line of that, who get ridiculed and stuff.
yeah,
But often, I'd say 99% of the time, that's because people are so focused on trying to be accepted that they don't like people who are different to them,
yeah,
and that they choose to ridicule them. But actually, when you step out, you do get a little bit more ridicule, but also you get more respect,
absolutely,
because everybody has beliefs which they want to stand up for, even if they're not Christian, and they admire people who are able to embody their beliefs and to actually step out into them. And I especially, similar thing for me at school. Like, I was in a friendship group with people who didn't know Jesus, and it took a lot for me to sort of like go against the grain with what they were doing. But actually, when I did that, I found that they gave me a greater respect than when I was just a Christian but didn't act like it. I was like, Joel, I know like he goes to church, but everything else, like, he just does everything that we do. But when I stopped doing the things which weren't of God, drinking and smoking weed and all these sort of stuff, they started to respect me more for it. Like, I got a bit of gyp for it, but they respected me for it at the same time.
Yeah. Because your peers are always looking up to you, whether you realize it or not, whether you look up to them or not, they're always watching and learning from you, just as you're learning from them. Because the more time you spend with people, you start to mimic them and you start to talk like them and act like them. And that is the same if you spend more time with Jesus, because you start to do things that he would do and say things that he would say. And that's not mean you're going to be like that all the time, because we're still human and we are not perfect. We will make mistakes, but at least that's where we're heading. That's what we're striving for. And yeah, people can't sense but feel like they want a piece of that, but are too scared to, step out and, I guess, fully live that out because of the rejection and the judgment and the loneliness that it can seem to have as well.
Totally, yeah. And one thing I like about your story is that you say that it was someone putting value on you, which sort of changed your life, really. Simple as like asking you to mute and unmute the mics. Like, it is a lot, it's value on you, but it's small. But like, how important is that to remember that, like, putting value on people's lives around you changes their lives, and what a reminder to do that for people, right?
Yeah.